Are you ready to become an escapreneur? Well, you were in the right place. Welcome to the Bye Bye 9 to 5 podcast, designed by brilliant women, especially for brilliant women who want to create the life of their dreams by escaping the 9 to 5.
Welcome to the Bye Bye 9 to 5 podcast, and I have another exciting episode for you today. On the Bye Bye 9 to 5 podcast, we are helping women to escape their 9 to 5 and to live the life, build the business of their dreams. And I have a very special dream builder here today. Her name is Mary Czarnecki, and she will be sharing some very interesting things with us. I love it. Welcome, Mary.
Thank you, Kimberly. I'm excited to be here.
Yes. And Mary is a girl after my own heart. She does something very similar to me, and I love it, love it, love it. And so let me give her a brief introduction, and then we'll dive right in. So Mary has spent 2 decades in corporate marketing. And so that's a hint, ladies. She knows her stuff. Corporate marketing, brand strategy, and business development with .com companies like WebMD and Johnson Johnson. Mary has a business coaching and marketing mentorship program, and it focuses on supporting new entrepreneurs grow their businesses online and replace their corporate income. Mary, yay. I love it, love it, love it. Yes, we do something very, very similar, and you know, that doesn't bother me at all. Let me say that. And I want my guests to hear that, my audience to hear that, I'm sorry. Because for me, I see no competition. What I see is us impacting the world together, us growing and impacting. Mary is helping women to build their businesses, and she's got ton more marketing strategies that I have, because that's her definite wheelhouse. So,
yeah, no, I totally agree, Kimberly. I mean, it's one of those things where, just take, for example, when I was at J&J, think about how many different skincare brands that one company owns. You've got Aveeno, you've got Clean and Clear, you've got Neutrogena, you've got Rock. They're all moisturizers, they're all skincare, but they all attract a different audience. They all serve a different purpose. And I think it's really exciting when you've got people that have similar businesses, but there's always room for different niches and different specialties. So I love that.
Yes, because that's what makes us all unique and impact the world in our own special way. So I love that.
Exactly. Awesome.
So Mary, tell us your story. I want to hear all about how you got to this point.
So my long and winding road was I started off in consulting right out of college. So I did the management consulting thing, went into brand management with Johnson Johnson, and then also spent 10 years with WebMD. So my transition went from dealing with kind of the more traditional consumer packaged goods marketing, where I was actually managing brand communications, and that's back in the day when Facebook wasn't the main advertising spend, it was a tiny little line item on our advertising budget, to being with WebMD and kind of on the other side of things, where we were helping brands try to get in front of the audience that we had already cultivated. And so now it's really fun because I'm still working full time, but I found this real passion for helping either side hustlers or beginning entrepreneurs kind of figure out how to infuse their growing business with that same kind of marketing rigor and analytical rigor that I saw the big brands being able to use. So kind of giving those clients and entrepreneurs I work with a little bit of an unfair advantage by applying some of the tools that we use with big guys.
That is very, very nice. Oh my gosh, yeah. I couldn't touch Mary with that. Oh my gosh. Yes. That's amazing. I may have to use her services myself and put a little bit of flair into my business. Yes, that is very nice. Now, I have to ask this question because I know working for big companies like that in their marketing department, what is that like? Is that not exciting or what?
You know, it is super exciting. It's one of those things where that's definitely, and I know you talk to this a lot, but it's kind of like the difference in mindset between being the employee and the entrepreneur. When you're working with these big brands, it is a little bit fun because you're kind of drawing energy from everyone on the team. You know, you've got a whole bunch of people around you that are all marketing geeks, right? You've got your sales team, your creative team, and so you're kind of pulling all these talents together, and it can be pretty inspiring. And so it's been fun kind of remembering that and kind of trying to pull that and kind of almost recreating it for myself in my entrepreneurial life, right? Because right now I'm operating as a solopreneur. And so it's been really important to kind of almost create that similar community for me, which is why I love your podcast, which is why I love, you know, the community that you and others have built, because I think I needed to recreate that for myself because I liked working in the big brands because you're surrounded by, you know, people that geek out on the same kind of stuff you do. So I've had to create that for myself in the entrepreneurial space.
Very nice. I love, love, love that. Oh my God. The reason why I love doing this podcast, Mary, is because I meet such amazing women, and they, you know, I must admit, all right, audience, you got me, because I am picking their brains and really just geeking out on all the stuff that they know and all the stuff that, all the resources they use, and just having this in my arsenal. I feel like I have coaches in my back pocket. That's a great feeling to have. It really, really is.
So, no, I think that's a huge advantage.
Yeah. I mean, I can have, I can think of something and I can say, oh, I remember I interviewed Mary about that. Let me call her up and buy some time with her. Yeah. And pick her brain for another hour or two. So that that's why I so love doing this. So Mary, tell us about your, business coaching and marketing mentorship program that you have currently.
Sure, yeah. So I work with clients in a variety of different ways. Some people aren't ready for, you know, taking on a full mentorship, you know, like a 90-day program, which I do offer. So I also offer, you know, kind of a quick hit strategy session where we do a kind of VIP deep dive into one specific challenge or hurdle that someone might be facing in their business. So, you know, for side hustlers that are, you know, still working their full-time gig and then trying to get some momentum in their business, sometimes that's about niche development or sales funnel strategy or opt-in creation, which we can definitely talk more about today. And then for those people who are ready to kind of, you know, start building on momentum that they might have already created, they have a couple clients under their belt, but they're looking for more consistency, or they're looking for more kind of instilling that foundational strategy rigor I was talking about before, kind of that, you know, hey, I'm awesome at what I do. I'm an amazing health coach, or I'm an amazing naturopath, or, you know, advertising specialist, but I don't have the background to figure out how do I create a marketing plan for myself. Those people I can best support through either my 90-day program or my 6-month coaching program, where we are able to kind of more consistently create a plan to start with, but then also execute it together. So those are the main ways that I work with my clients right now. Very
nice. I love that. Being able to kind of meet people where they are.
Exactly.
That's really, really nice. Now, Mary, I know that everything that you're using in your program, it's not textbook. It's things that you have actually done, either for the big boys or for yourself. And a lot of my audience are women who are sitting on the fence about starting a business, or who are new to starting a business. One thing that you mentioned that I'd really like you to talk about a little bit more was your corporate experience with being laid off and then going back to work, and then realizing that, you know, kind of this was your passion. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so totally. I alluded to my long and winding road. So I did end up getting that wonderful choice from my former employer of, would you like the relocation package or the severance package? And since we're out here in Oregon wine country, my husband's a 4th generation chef and entrepreneur. relocation was not an option. So I got the severance package, and the problem I had with that initial kind of foray into creating my own business, into entrepreneurship, was that I fell into the trap of listening to too many voices, right? Listening to too many mentors. And it's one of those things that I think a lot of people in your community probably suffer with, is that we have a lot of different talents. There are a lot of things we could be good at. And so when you're having a bunch of different people tell you, oh, you could do this, or you should do this, or why don't you try this? I kind of got a little unfocused, right? So I tried e-commerce, and I tried Facebook, and I tried, Amazon FBA, and I tried coaching, and all of them worked really well. But since I wasn't singularly focused on just one, I could only take each of them so far. And, the universe or God or whoever you believe in, your higher power, kind of sent me a little message. And I actually had a former boss who was rebuilding his team invite me to rejoin his team at this new company. And I actually turned him down because I was like, no, I'm going to do this entrepreneurship thing. I'm going to do it. And he called me back and he's like, well, no, seriously, I need you on my team. We have a spot. It's meant for you. And I was like, okay, I got it, universe. I see the sign. So I actually went back to working full time and actually took a break. And it was really funny because a mentor of mine recently did a Facebook post that really struck home for me, which was about the power of the pause. And I think I had gotten so confused about what I really wanted to do by trying so many things that pause of going back to work, kind of getting us in a strong financial situation and allowing myself to kind of step back from all the different things I had tried and say, well, what was it that actually gave me fulfillment? Because the whole point for me about getting into a side hustle, like building this coaching business, is it's fulfilling something that I'm not getting from my full-time job, right? And that pause kind of allowed me some freedom to think about that. So that's why this kind of second attempt, if you will, about creating my side hustle, creating my business, I have got a lot more clarity this time around. And it's one of those things where you could take the perspective of, okay, you messed up, you did too many things, you tried too many things, that was a failure. Well, I truly believe that if I hadn't tried those many things, I wouldn't be able to bring the same kind of perspective to my clients that might be suffering with something similar or have had similar experiences in the past. So, I've worked with people coming from e-commerce that have a similar thing for me, I loved e-commerce. It was fun. It was very similar to some of the things I'd done with corporate in terms of trying to, serve a really broad, big audience. However, it wasn't filling that gap that I wanted filled, which was seeing true impact, on a one-to-one basis with the clients I work with and the coaching side of things. And so that pause allowed me to kind of step back and figure out, okay, if I'm going to build a business, I want it to be something I'm passionate about and that's going to create fulfillment that I wouldn't get from my day job. Otherwise, I might as well just stay in my day job and collect my paycheck and be on my merry way, right? So that was my long and winding road.
Mary, see, that I needed to share that story, Mary, because a lot of nuggets in there. So there's three main things that I wanted to point out. There were so many in there, but three main things. One was, audience, I want you to catch this. This is a really good golden nugget, is that Mary tapped into her intuitive side. And she heard when, she took a minute, she paused for a minute and she tapped into her intuitive side and she was able to say, all right, I hear you, universe. I hear you, God. Let me follow this and see where it leads. And I think what Mary found for her is that in doing that, it led to the right answer. So sometimes, just to make this point, that sometimes we don't always see the entire road ahead of us. All we can see is the one or two steps in the front of us. And we have to trust that process and follow it. Another nugget that Mary really gave us was the fact that she did not see any of her first attempt as a failure. she saw it as an opportunity for her to really figure out what her true passion was. What was the thing that gave her fulfillment? Because at the end of the day, and Mary, I can attest to this so well. At the end of the day, the money by itself won't suffice. At some point, you have enough money and you will be over it. And you're like, all right, my heart is still not fulfilled. And so she made that point beautifully. And the other thing that, Mary, that you said that I thought was just really, really profound was when you were talking about the fact that all of these coaches, all of these people were in your ear. Have I been there or not? Oh, and it's almost like, because all of these smart people are saying, well, you could do this and you could do that and you could do this. You're thinking almost at that point that you're Superwoman and yeah, you can do it all. But Superwoman is only a movie.
So true.
Yes. We can do a lot of things, don't get me wrong. But as women, we need to sometimes just slow down for a minute and pause. I love that, the power of the pause. Slow down for a minute and pause and do some self-inflection, just being able to dig into what really drives you. And so, and block out the noise for a moment, because boy, are we in an age where there's a lot of noise. I bet you when you first started with those big companies, not near as much marketing noise, huh?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Inundated, I'd say.
Oh my gosh, yes. And so that's a wonderful story, Mary. Thank you so much. I appreciate you sharing that with us, because I'm sure that will definitely impact the way somebody is really thinking about things. Now,
absolutely. I mean, it's one of those things where I was inspired by others, people that are just a little further along the path, that are very transparent with their stories. And I know it can be scary, but I think, sharing where you've been might help someone else.
Absolutely. And I mean, Mary is a testimony to the fact that even if you, and I would, Mary, I was once in corporate. I was in corporate for like 20 years. So I guess Mary, I could call you a corporate girl as well, because you were there for so long. And so, but Mary is a testimony of the fact that, yeah, you can be a corporate girl and still step outside of that and do something more fulfilling with your life if it is your desire. And you don't have to be afraid to do it, because no matter which stage you're at, you can get it done with the right resources. Mary, and because I mentioned that, and I don't usually talk about this, but I feel inclined to. How important is it for new business owners or people who want to do side hustles? How important is it for them to recognize the power of coaching?
I think it's hugely important. I mean, it's one of those things where, you can pretty much use the Google to find any answer, right? And I always like to say, you're going to pay for momentum and pay for success with either money or time. Now, if you have tons of time, the answers are all out there, most of them, right? So you can always Google an answer. You can figure out how to do a Facebook ad or put up a website or, do kind of the things, right? But I think the thing that people don't understand until they've had the experience with coaching or mentorship is that it gets you there faster. And usually that's because someone's been in those shoes, they've walked that path, they have people that are in similar situations to you that they've worked with in the past, and they know how to get you results faster. So that's why I always think about you're either going to pay in time or money. And so if you have all the time in the world, yes, you can find those answers and I'm sorry, my voice is too much yelling at my kids yesterday. But you can find those answers for yourself, but it might take you a long time. And you might have to step on some landmines and, stumble a little bit more, versus my experience when I finally invested in my first coach. It got me results so much faster than I had been getting when I was just trying to figure out for myself. And I'm stubborn, right? I'm smart. I've been in business for 20 years. I can do this by myself, right? So I felt like I wasted a lot of time and energy doing that, versus once I was able to work with someone who could, call me out on some of the things that, I was spending time on that wasn't, value-driven activities, or, hold me accountable. I think a lot of people hear accountability and they're like, yeah, I can keep myself accountable. And the truth is we can't. We need someone to call us out. We need that kind of person to check in. I mean, I always laugh with my husband. I'm like, okay, 2 kids later and, a desk job, my waistline is definitely a little bit bigger than it was in college. And the best shape I was ever in my life was when I was in college and I was rowing. And I didn't have one person yelling at me. I had a coxswain rowing it, yelling at me in the boat. I had a coach yelling at me from the dock, right? So I needed that accountability, and I see the same thing in new entrepreneurs or even side hustlers. You know what I mean? You get that accountability from your day job, right? You've got a boss, you've got a manager, you've got a team kind of built in. But when you're creating your own business as a side hustle or as an entrepreneur, that coach kind of steps in and helps not just guide you on what to do, the things to do, but I think for me, it's been really useful in terms of that accountability, that mindset, and also that belief in you on those days that you can't believe in yourself.
Oh, very nicely put, Mary. I love that. I hope my audience caught all of that. There's nothing for me to add to that. You said that beautifully. And I love your analogy of, I didn't think about that. When you are working a job, you've got managers and supervisors and bosses and everybody else holding you accountable. Get that report on my desk by tomorrow at, it's like everybody else is holding you accountable. But when you decide to step into this entrepreneurship world, all of a sudden you look around and it's like crickets. There's nobody there except you.
Exactly.
And Mary, I had this flashback of when I first started this, and I was building that website. I was determined to build my first website by myself.
Yep.
I had that flashback of being into week 8 of building that website. And it was like, when I finally got a coach, I was probably into week 12 of building that website. And she was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? It does not take 12 weeks to build a site. What are you doing? It was amazing because I was just trying to psych myself into believing that I was being busy every day, but I wasn't really being busy. I was kind of like picking flowers, it's like, because I was just trying to psych myself into that I had this business, I was doing stuff. But without a coach, I didn't have a clear direction. So I was just doing what I thought I should and wasting a whole bunch of time, really. So thank you for that. Thank you. I don't normally talk about that because I don't want, my audience to just think, well, I'm pitching for coaches, but I'm not. But I'm just trying to give you resources that really, really, truly help.
No, and I think one thing that I've learned is, even the coaches I work with have coaches, and everyone's heard that saying, new level, new devil, right? And I'd almost be suspicious of someone who's trying to sell coaching that isn't getting coaching themselves, because it means they've stopped growing. So, I think it's one of those things where, people laugh. They're like, oh no, I can figure it out myself. I'm smart. That's probably true. But like you said, you may just be picking flowers for a while.
Yes, absolutely. And that's worse because eventually the momentum and the motivation starts to wane. Mm-hmm. And that's when I really realized I needed a coach. I was like, all right, I've been working on this thing for 8 weeks. I started to question myself, can I do this business thing? And so I'm glad I was smart enough to recognize, I think I need somebody else to talk to. I need some help. Yes. So Mary, Now, we're going to get into some juicy stuff. I want to hear all about how you help your clients with list building. I want you to give my audience really good tips, because I know that's one of the most challenging things for new business owners to have to deal with. Building a list, figuring out who the ideal clients are, who they're speaking to, what that message is, their opt-in, all of that good stuff can be very challenging in the beginning. So help us out a little bit here. Give us some tips, advice, whatever you want to share in regards to that.
Sure, definitely. So, I think probably most of your audience has heard the term, right? The money's in the list, right? So why create a list? If you think about the list, not just as a bunch of names and a bunch of email lists sitting in some email autoresponder, but these are your people. These should be the kind of people that you want to serve, that if you got them on the phone, you would be able to have a decent conversation with them. You'd be able to talk about their pains because you know their pains. So before I start working with people on actually creating, the actual lead magnet, the first step is always, okay, do you have a niche? Have you researched your audience? And most people have, but I always encourage people who've even been in business for a while, who've been serving clients for a while, to even go back and go a level deeper. So one of the tools we've been using forever, I kind of renamed after I had kids to the toddler approach, or the why method. And it's when you're thinking about those pains that your ideal person, your ideal client or customer is trying to get away from, that your service is going to move them further away, kind of get them over those hurdles. When you're asking them, what is it that you're challenged by? What is it that you're suffering with? What is the thing that you want the solution to? Keep asking why until you get to something that is really keeping them up at night. And so the reason I call it the toddler why method, or the toddler approach, is because if you have kids, you know that a child is going to continue asking you why, until either they get the answer that they're happy with, or you are a quivering mass of Jell-O on the floor. So for example, one of the people I was coaching is a health coach, and she's fabulous at what she does. She motivates people. She gets these amazing results for people. But when I first asked her, I was like, well, what is the pain that your target is suffering with? And she's like, well, they want to lose weight. Well, why do they want to lose weight?
Yes.
And we kind of walked through it to several different levels. Why do they want to lose weight? Well, they want to be able to shop at those stores that they used to. Okay, well, why? Well, so she could feel like herself again. Well, what about that's important? Well, after I had kids, I kind of gave everything up. I gave everything up. I gave my body up. I gave my clothes, my wardrobe, everything. I felt like I lost myself. Well, okay, so what is weight loss for you for that? And all of a sudden she gets to this point where she's like, oh, it's about reclaiming who I am, finding myself. That's the why. And so when you're building your list, that's your first step. Find that insight, find that deep, deep insight, because then you just found the topic to create your opt-in on. And then it becomes simple, because then all your opt-in is a small piece that you can give them a quick win on to address and ease some of that pain, right? So a lot of people get overwhelmed when they're like, oh, what am I going to create? How am I going to create this lead magnet or this opt-in? And they get overwhelmed by the tech. I'd say before you even worry about how you're going to deliver it or what tech you're going to use, figure out what the thing is, right? So you've figured out the pain, right? That deep issue, that deep insight. And now you're going to get them a little quick win. So what in all of your services could you deliver that they could do on a DIY basis, right?
Right.
And a lot of people get stuck on content. So I make it easy for people. So the easiest ways to create an opt-in is always something that they could either download or watch. So think about it as like a PDF that they could download or a video that they could watch. It's funny because a lot of people who are like afraid of tech, I almost invite them to do a video, because what you could do is just post a video on Vimeo or YouTube, make it private, and then those are the people, just send them that link. And you don't even have to worry about doing a checklist or a PDF or anything like that. But so make it consumable and give them that little quick win, that little piece that you can break off of the full solution that you work with clients on to get them away from that pain and toward the goal that they want. And it's funny because a lot of people when they're thinking about that lead magnet, they're like, oh, I want a lead magnet that's just going to bring tons of people in, right?
Right.
And I think that's a big mistake. And I saw that even with big brands. You know, we would have big brands spending millions of dollars to essentially do lead gen opt-ins on WebMD, right? And if they made their offer, if they made their opt-in too broad, what they would do is basically fill their list. They'd get thousands of opt-ins, hundreds of thousands of opt-ins, but they weren't targeted. They weren't the kind of people they wanted. And especially for people who are starting out, so new entrepreneurs, side hustlers, quality is so much more important than quantity. And so by taking that first step, figuring out that deeper insight, crafting your opt-in to specifically address that with a quick win that you can deliver in a DIY format for them, you're going to be so specific that the person that you want to reach and that you want to talk to and that you want to serve in your business is going to say, ah, she's in my head. She knows me. And that is going to get you more qualified people onto your list, as opposed to just filling your list because it's, kind of a metric of, self-importance to have, 10,000 people on your list. Well, 10,000 people that aren't your ideal client aren't going to do you any good. It's more important. I know people that make $10,000 a month with 1,000-person list because there are 1,000 people that love them, that know, like, and trust them, that believe in them, and that advocate for them. Because once you get those people on your list and they start loving you and they love your content, you keep serving them with good content and following up with them, they're going to start advocating for you, right? So I think that's more important than just putting an opt-in out there just for the sake of having an opt-in and getting a ton of, no names on your list.
You are absolutely right, because then you're not talking to the people you were meant to talk to. Yes.
Exactly.
And what's very nice about your process, Mary, there is that, as you drill down with that person, you're creating their message. And all they have to do is kind of really think about how you drill down with them. And that is a part of their messaging. And you're right. When they're done, their ideal client is saying, oh my gosh, she's in my head. She's speaking to me. I love that.
Right. And I mean, the fun thing is when I've walked through this with people who felt stuck and were like, oh, I don't even know what to do a lead magnet on. Like, everyone's like a checklist, or I don't know how to do that. Once we start saying, okay, well, if I was your client and I was sitting across from you, what would you do with me first? Break that off, turn it into a DIY little piece of something that I can do by myself. Mm-hmm. But the cool thing is you want them to not get the full solution, right? Because you want them to get a taste of what you can do and almost think to themselves, holy mackerel, if this is what her free stuff gave me, whether it's confidence, whether it's a new perspective, whether it's, tips and tricks, or, just the next 3 steps I need to take to feel momentum, gosh, what is going to be working with her live going to be like? Mm-hmm. That's what you really want your opt-in to do for you. And then, you can follow that up with however you want to nurture people. A lot of people use email autoresponders after you get people on your list to add more value. You've given them step 1 in the opt-in. Maybe you give them step 2 in the email you send them, next. Right. Or, it's a fun way to kind of start creating that relationship that used to have to be done offline, right?
Yeah. Yes. Very nice. I love that. Yes. Yes. I'm in the process of creating a new lead magnet myself. And I went ahead and created a 10-day challenge and then rethought it and said, I think that's too long. So I put it back down to 5 days. And I decided to do exactly that with the other 5 days. They were videos. I didn't dispose of them. It would be like, now here in emails, here is your next 5 steps after the challenge. And I would just drip feed those. Yeah. So. No,
I think that's brilliant. And yeah, I mean, I would definitely invite people to think about their opt-in delivery as a shorter term thing. 3 to 5 days is perfect, because if people are waiting 10, 20, I've even seen 30-day, email courses for the end result, this is just the initial step in learning to work with you. So like I said, my husband's a restaurateur, and one of the things that people love doing is before they make a restaurant reservation, what do? They go on Yelp, they go on OpenTable, they want to see what it looks like, they want almost experience it before they go. And if you think about your opt-in as your OpenTable, like this is the way that they get to figure out what is it like to work with you before I actually commit. You don't want to have them wait around for 30 days before they can kind of get to that sensation.
Yes, absolutely. Audience, I hope that you are going to put this one on replay often. Mary gave you a ton of tips. And the best part about it is you can also reach out to her when you get stuck on implementing these tips. Because sometimes when we get this information, we think we can implement it ourselves, and it does present itself as a challenge. So Mary is definitely here as a resource where she can help walk you through this so you can get maximum results. Mary, I do believe you have a free gift for the audience today.
Yes, for sure. So I put together my own little lead magnet, so you can use that as an example if you want to jumping off point, but it's what I call it is the 2 essential secrets to creating an irresistible lead magnet. So I shared some of them with you guys today. Obviously, making sure that you attract the right people, number 1, and number 2, that you're next going to position those leads once you actually capture them for purchasing. So we dive into that kind of as the secret number 2 in the opt-in. So I've got that as a quick download to get you guys some quick wins in your businesses.
Very nice. And I will have all of this information from Mary, her website, where you can find her at on social media, and her free gift linked, all on my podcast page. I'll have a special page designated just for Mary on kimwigginscoaching.com/podcast. And you'll be able to hear her podcast there, get her free gift, and find out exactly how you can reach out to her and get in touch with Mary. Now, Mary, I like for my audience to get to know you just a little bit better. So
sure.
You told me something really funny about you when you were in college. Tell us, and I couldn't believe this, so tell us about that. You were a biology.
Yeah, so I was an ecology and evolutionary biology major in college, which absolutely has pretty much nothing to do with what I do now. But I loved it because I was always really fascinated by the natural world and the outdoors, and I still am. I mean, I live in Oregon, so I think in order to get your Oregon driver's license, you actually have to camp at least 4 times a year. So, so as a bio major, I had the opportunity to do a field research project in preparation for my senior thesis. So where I went to school at Princeton, everyone does a senior thesis. And so I decided that I was going to do something crazy and live in a tent on one of the barrier islands off the coast of North Carolina, in an uninhabited island. For any of you guys listening in the North Carolina, South Carolina area, hopefully you all are okay up in Florence. But I camped out for 4 months in a tent on Shackleford Banks and watched the wild horses, and did my senior thesis on feral pony behavior. So the title of my senior thesis was The Causes and Consequences of Male Dominance. So it's still available in the library if anyone wants to go check it out. But it was a great experience because it's one of those things where you look back 20 years later and you're like, wow, I did that. And that's absolutely insane. But I ended up very blonde and very tan at the end of the year. But I have to say, it definitely, it was a good lesson in resilience and, you know, kind of patience. Because those horses didn't always cooperate. And actually, going into corporate after that, there were many times where I was like, this colleague is very much like this pony I had to deal with.
Now that is the gem in it. You learned a lot about male dominance behavior, didn't you? Very nice. Now, Mary, you say that one of your favorite motivational quotes is by Shonda Rhimes from The Year of Yes. And you just have to keep moving forward. You just have to keep doing something, seizing the next opportunity, staying open to trying something new. It doesn't have to fit your vision of the perfect job or the perfect life. Perfect is boring and dreams are not real. Just do. The last part of that, perfect is boring. I love that piece of it. I love that piece. I've got that as a quote up on my wall. Perfect is boring. Tell us about why. Tell us about why that's your favorite quote.
So I read The Year of Yes, kind of just off the cuff. A friend of mine was staying at my house and she had just finished reading it and she's like, hey, you should read this book. You would love it. And so she left it with me and I read it and it was one of those books where you just keep turning the pages and you're like, yes, that's exactly what's in my head. And she, if you don't know Shonda Rhimes, she's amazing. She's a screenwriter for Grey's Anatomy and several other award-winning shows. And I love that quote because it kind of speaks to, you know, my side hustler entrepreneur heart of you just have to keep moving forward. And especially now that you've heard my experience, you know, full-time career, laid off, tried a bunch of different things, went back, now trying something that actually I have a lot of heart for, you know, you just have to keep moving forward. And like you said, you may not see the full path ahead of you. Mm-hmm. And it's not going to be perfect, even for someone like me that loves planning and loves strategy and loves having, you know, kind of a framework for everything. Sometimes you just have to take the next couple steps and see where it goes. You know, she has another quote in that book that I really love too about her experience being a mother and an award-winning screenwriter, where she shares how, you know, she was at an award ceremony sitting in the box with the Obamas and, you know, was being honored by all these different things. And at the same time, she was missing her child's, you know, school play or something like that. Whereas if she is there for her family, sometimes she has to put business on hold. And that's also a good reminder for me about perfection is that there isn't going to be a perfect day. There isn't going to be a perfect balance all the time. And that's okay. You know, it's more about equilibrium and moving forward and making sure that you're feeling progress for yourself.
Absolutely. I love that. Wow. Yes. I have that book on my shelf, but I have to admit, I have not read it yet. But I do this book review on my website. And right now I'm doing a different book, but I may pick that one off my shelf next. And
I recommend it.
yeah, that may be my next book review. So, Shonda, listen to me, Shonda. So,
I'm honored.
So, Mary, we're coming to the end of our time together, and I have just thoroughly enjoyed you. You are one smart, very authentic. I can feel your authentic spirit, you know, and so that's huge because, you know, entrepreneurs really need that. They need to feel that when they're working with a coach, and so I can really feel that, and so. Thank you for being my guest today. I have one final question for you, though.
Sure.
If you could share one action tip with my audience that they can put in place today after they listen to this podcast, what exactly would that be that they could put in place today?
I think it gets down to the why strategy plus a little bit of putting yourself out there. So one of the things that is scariest as a new entrepreneur is just to get in front of people. But if people don't know what you have to offer, how you can address that deep-seated pain, that insight that you know exists out there, people aren't going to know that you're there. And so I'd say the action today is get out there. Go live on Facebook if you're a video person. You know, write a blog post or a post on Facebook, Instagram, whatever your method of thing is, but get yourself out there today. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect. Take imperfect action to get in front of your people, get in front of your audience so that they know that you can serve them.
Very nice. I love that. Imperfect action. Yes.
Yep.
I think sometimes we as women, we want to walk that fine line of perfection. But in being in this space, being an entrepreneur, doing the side hustle, whatever it is you call it, being a new business owner, you've got to pitch that perfection out the window. And I think that's really important. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate that. And that's a good challenge for you new business owners that are listening, because visibility is very important. And it's one of the things that new business owners seem to cringe about the most. They're like, oh, I don't want to go on video. But I think it's a great thing. So definitely. Thank you so much, Mary. I'm glad that you visited us here today for the Bye Bye 9 to 5 podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It was so much fun.
Yes. So this is our episode this is the end of our episode for this episode of Bye Bye 9 to 5. Definitely like, comment, and share, because it's chock full of information. And we will see you on the next episode. Bye.
This episode of the Bye Bye 9 to 5 podcast has ended, but it doesn't stop there. Be sure to subscribe for more strategies and advice to help you move from employee to escapreneur, to have the kind of success you have always dreamed of without sacrificing family or time. And don't forget to rate and review us so we can continue to bring you the best content possible to motivate and encourage you on this journey. See you on the next episode.